Constitutional Court Interpretation Number 707, Unconstitutional Faculty Case relating to the regulations for the compensation of public school faculty and staff. Issue is the formulation of compensation for teachers of public high school and lower levels without reference either to welfare laws or to authorized orders considered unconstitutional. Holding. The Ministry of Education amended and promulgated the regulations for the compensation of public school faculty and staff, including their annex and standard table, on December 22, 2004. Within the regulations for the compensation of public school faculty and staff, the part relating to teachers of public high school and lower levels seem to have violated the principle of legal reservation of the Constitution, and therefore shall be nullified on the day this interpretation has been announced, or at the most 3 years later. Reasoning. Generally speaking, based on the constitutional principle of legal reservation, even if the government's administrative measures do not limit the people's freedom and rights, once the said measures involve significant matters such as the public interest or get in the way of a person's fulfillment of his or her fundamental civilian rights, the agency in charge may not codify regulations in associated with the aforesaid measures unless they are formulated according to the relevant laws or evident legal authority. Education is the bedrock of a country's societal development, and the teachers take upon themselves the mission of nurturing elites for the nation. Thus, the virtue or vice of executing educational work is highly pertinent to the results of education as a whole, and this will also indirectly affect people's right to education, for the purpose of allowing teachers to fully commit themselves to their educational work and therefore aim for educational improvements. The government should help to ensure the quality of life and the standard of teaching for teachers. Article 165 of the Constitution specifies that our nation ought to secure the life of educational workers and to raise their salaries or welfare benefits if the nation's economic growth allows it. The degree of compensation shall also be factored in when it comes to the judging the full package of the compensation offered to teachers so as to make sure that their standing is protected. This is clearly stipulated in the Constitution, and as long as the compensation is outside the realm of property rights specified in Article 15, it is deemed to be a significant matter involving the public interest. Consequently, in order to comply with the Constitution, matters relating to teachers' welfare and compensation must be regulated by means of laws or according to orders issued by evident legal authorities. Only Article 19 of the Teachers Act has a regulation applicable to the compensation of teachers, though the full Act has not yet entered into force. No other articles of the Teachers Act nor any other laws have yet codified anything relating to the said topic. The Ministry of Education promulgated the regulation for the compensation of public school faculty and staff, including their annex and standard table, on September 13, 1973, and it further amended the said regulation for the compensation of public school faculty and staff on December 22, 2004, as the basis for handling compensation problems relating to teachers of public high school and lower level. Before any laws covering teachers' welfare and compensation has been completely enacted. Although the regulation at issue was intended as a temporary mechanism before the enactment enactment of relevant laws on teachers' welfare and or compensation. An approach of this kind should not arbitrarily be permitted to remain in force for long. The regulation at issue was promulgated in 1973 and has been in force since then. Within this time, both Article 20 of the Teachers Act as well as Article 8, Paragraph 1 of the Educational Fundamental Act clearly state that the teacher's welfare and compensation shall be governed by law. But until now, this task has not yet been carried out. The regulation at issue regulates the aforementioned ranking, amount, and standard of compensation of a teacher's salary. It also states the highest salary scale according to the teacher's rank and the relevant matters regarding changes to compensation when a higher academic degree has been achieved while one is still on the job. Due to the importance of the above regulatory items and their being related to welfare benefits and earning of teachers, these relevant provisions are closely bound to the security of teachers' property right and to the public interest. Thus, if any incident involving these provisions was to be approved or publicized without any authorization in law, there is then an obvious violation against the principle of legal reservation within the Constitution. The petitioner for this interpretation merely argued about the part that was based upon Article 5, Paragraph 1 of the Standard Table for the compensation of public school faculty and staff, which was relevant to the above-mentioned matters. Regarding change of compensation when a teacher has received a higher degree while on the job, and the said compensation change was recalculated based on the higher academic degree. Based on the standard table at issue, the petitioner changed that the authority while making a change in the compensation offered did not take into account the petitioner's excellent service or the evaluation of his teaching during the petitioner's advanced study period. For this reason, the standard table at issue was deemed unconstitutional in the petitioner's case, and therefore a regulatory interpretation was requested. The standard table for the compensation of public school faculty and staff serve as the second appendix to the regulation at issue, and thus should be viewed as part of a regulation at issue. Given that the regulation at issue violated the constitutional principle of legal reservation, the Yuan ought to precisely interpret the regulation at issue. Regulation at issue. Furthermore, the above-mentioned system of teachers' welfare and compensation shall be regulated by means of law or according to orders issued by legal authority. To comply with this requirement, a certain period of time is needed for proper planning, and the relevant authorities should promulgate laws regarding teachers' welfare and compensation in accordance with this interpretation within 3 years after the interpretation has been announced. By doing so, it is expected that the matter of teachers' welfare and compensation may be legalized if the task is not finalized after the said 3-year period. The part relating to teachers of public high schools and lower levels within the regulation at issue shall be nullified.